Good evening. Welcome to the Board of Selectmen meeting, September 9th, 2013. I am acting chair this evening. We call the meeting back to order, and if we could all rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and good evening. Just running down our punch list here this evening. Warrant to be signed, gentlemen, and I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes of August 26, 2013, if everybody can take a look at those.
So moved.
I was not present.
Second.
All right. Any discussion or changes? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
I will abstain, so we have a abstention and 2 approved, so moving on. Thank you. Under new business, we have fire department and school department. Either of you parties under extreme duress to get out of here?
Yep.
Are you Russ needs to go to sleep? Is that what's going on?
A little time before Monday night football.
All right, yeah. You know, maybe a bell will ring and you'll have to go running out. So, Barbie, would you mind if we started with the fire department? Okay. All right, so the fire department is here to give us a quick quarterly review. We have Chief Al Beardsley here and Russ to tell us what's going on at the fire department. Thank you for your time, gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Pleasure
Good to see
be
you.
here tonight to chat with everybody. Few things. Fire department has had a very, very busy summer. Usually we see things kind of taper off right about the time school lets out, and then it's kind of quiet till around Labor Day. And I think we had about a 2-week stint where it was slow. And we hit the ground running right when the heat wave first started in the beginning of July, and it hasn't stopped. It's been a busy place. Just to kind of give you an idea on things, looking at a comparison, we always work in a yearly basis, so from January 1 up through the end of August, we had over 1,001 incidents, which much of that is due to some reporting changes that the Department of Fire Services has us making. Compared to a year ago, 815 incidents that we had going. But that takes in everything from fires to public service calls, medical aids, weather-related emergencies and such. So taking some of those out of the comparison, we're a little bit ahead of last year, even in spite of that. And then one of the big things we're seeing an uptick in has been automobile crashes. I was just showing the deputy the numbers beforehand. And we are averaging about 9 motor vehicle crashes that we're called out on a month. And we've had some fairly serious ones. Just a couple weeks ago here at the intersection, we had quite a serious accident. Grant-wise, it's been a pretty good year for our grants. We have what's called the SAFE grant, which is a student awareness education grant. We received $4,600 as a state grant. And we use that for educating the children. We use that as part of our open house work and the different outreach programs that we have. And then our big grant, which was the Assistance to Firefighters grant, we were awarded over $32,000 on that federal grant. And that's going to allow us to purchase 2 battery-operated stretchers, which is something that will definitely save on the potential for back injuries. And we're in the process right now. We've met with 2 vendors. There's only 2 vendors that sell these I call them power cots. We've met with both of them, and on Wednesday, one of the vendors is actually going to let us use their power cot, because we can just very easily plug it right into our ambulances with no modification. So that's very, very nice. And that is going to wind up costing us probably roughly about $1,200. And then I'm also looking at some maintenance plans on top of that, so we keep them in tip-top shape all the time. Speaking of that, tip-top shape, we've had in the month of July and August, we had all of our apparatus given their preventive maintenance checkups. So we're really seeing what's really nice right now is as I'm seeing the hard efforts of the past few years of bringing our preventive maintenance program into being. We had less breakdowns that were discovered with our apparatus than ever before. Of course, then I opened up my mouth and said that, and we had the catastrophic problem that was discovered with engine 5. That was a body thing, and with a vehicle that's almost 20 years old, that happens. And that truck went out today, and hopefully we'll have it maybe by the end of the week, hopefully no later than sometime next week. We took it down to an outfit down in Hopkinton that works on fire apparatus. So that's down there. Some of the things we're working on in 2 weeks, I go to a conference in Wakefield for the next round of federal grants. And we've already are working on some ideas for that. And one of them is finish out our exhaust system over at the station. We just missed in getting it on this past grant, and it was only because of the way one question was worded and answered. I hit all the gates, and it just wasn't enough to push it over on the final one, so I got some coaching on that, how to improve that. Then we've been doing a lot with the schools. There's been a lot of work going on there. In fact, I met this morning with several members of the committee talking about the emergency access road. So that is probably, in the next year plus, is probably going to be one of our major focuses, is making sure that the construction on the school and everything that meets all the different fire code needs and such. And our fire prevention division, they've been busy. As we've seen with the economy improving, we've seen an uptick in the number of home inspections. We generally see them in the summertime anyway, because that's when most people will sell their houses in July and August, June, July, and August. And this year was no different, except it was actually even a little bit higher. We have in the past couple of weeks, most understandably, seen a big drop off on the home inspections. We'll probably see that pick up again, now that we're into September. And the ambulance, what can I say? Things have been going very good on the ambulance. We are currently looking at, hopefully at the fall town meeting, to put together a warrant article for doing what's called a remount on the older of the two ambulances. It's been plagued with some repair issues, but with a truck that's a 2003 vintage with over 100,000 miles on it, that's understandable. And we have found some very good alternatives that will cost minimal, no, I shouldn't say minimal money, but a lot less than what a brand completely new ambulance would cost us. It's called a remount, where you just pick up the box and just drive another truck underneath it. It costs about half of what a brand new truck costs. And just to give you some idea on the numbers with the ambulance, through August 31st, we have transported 281 people in the ambulances since January 1st. And the lion's share of our transports go to the Anna Jakes. 53% go there, and next in line is Merrimack Valley with 24%, and 13% go to Beverly, and the rest go from anywhere from Mass General to Portsmouth Regional to Holy Family. So they're all over the place. So moving forward, we do have some challenges ahead of us going forward this quarter as well as the others. The big thing is, as I mentioned before, is going to be the schools. That is always a challenge for us, especially once the schools go in session, because we need to get into the schools on a quarterly basis to do just walk-through inspections along with Baldpate Hospital. And in addition to that, trying to get ourselves organized again with our commercial inspections that we're supposed to be doing. So, and then of course, staffing is always an issue. As a call fire department, nobody is bound to the fire department. We try to keep them on as long as possible and give them enough incentive to remain on the department. But we do lose people. Right now we're down to 35 firefighters, and from a high of 40 earlier in the year. But we've had several people have moved out of town, so that we've lost them for that. And then in closing, we do have an open house that's going to be coming up on Saturday, September 21st. We certainly encourage everyone to come on down. It's going to be between the hours of 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. We're going to have what's called the Safe House, which is a trailer that comes in. We smoke it up. It gives, especially the kids, gives them an opportunity to practice fire safety, how to get out of the house if there's a fire. There's a 911 setup inside there, so they actually will talk to somebody that sounds like a 911 operator, so they'll know what it sounds like if you ever had to call 911. There's also a built-in video machine, and it's a nice sized little trailer. It comes in, we share it with Amesbury Fire Department, houses it, and several of the local fire departments, we pay a stipend into it each year, and that gives us the transportation and all of the necessary material that goes along with it.
Great.
So that's going to be, like I said, September 21st. And if you have any questions, I certainly would be happy to entertain them now.
Gentlemen?
Mr. Chief, I just have a couple of, actually just one question, just regarding the accidents for a second. Is there any trend in terms of driving under the influence? Is it are these more speed related or more traffic related?
I think it's just plain traffic. Most of the ones like we've had in the square has just been just traffic. One of them, a young driver turned in front of another driver, and in fact, two of them just recently were like that. We had a rollover Saturday a week ago out on the highway. Actually, not on the highway; it was on the entrance ramp going on to 95 South. And just a case of you had a wet road and probably, I'm not an expert in that area, but maybe a little bit too much speed. And they hit the curb, rolled over, and they were about 30 feet or so, 40 feet into the woods.
Okay, so no real pattern going on.
That's probably Chief Cudmore to better
The town getting busier.
handle that.
Yeah, right. Gary?
Just on your education, that you mentioned you got a grant for it, and I know you do work with the schools. We talked once before. Any chance of perhaps reaching out into churches and that? I know we do a yearly inspection, which typically goes well, and we want to do that, make sure everything's safe, but perhaps, you've got kids and teachers there. What do they do? I mean, or do you figure that you carry over from what you do at the schools?
Yeah, hopefully most of that does carry over. I have been contacted by, believe it or not, by a church just recently. They want to come and meet with me and, go over, fire prevention. In fact, the deputy has been over one of the churches too, doing fire drills on a Sunday morning, no less.
Yeah, they actually have us come up and
Yeah,
sound the alarm while they're in service.
that's something. And, we have some other outreach programs that that we're in the developing stage right now with seniors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, when you're working with the seniors, okay.
Yeah, there's a
I
grant
think a lot of
program.
it has to do with what you said, Gary, is most of the kids get it from the school. I think
Yeah.
it's a great idea, though, for the church, the Sunday school classes and stuff, to touch on it, too, with their students, because the students have already gotten a basis
Well,
from the fire departments that come to their schools, and they can probably use that in the churches.
but as you said, a drill for
Mhm.
the teachers to know, okay,
Yeah.
this is what we need to do. I don't know if we know the thing about
Yeah.
perhaps taking out a sheet with names, who's there.
Yeah.
Did everybody get out?
Yeah.
Things of that sort would
Yeah.
probably be
Exactly.
helpful, yeah.
The
So-
churches that have been dealing with, amazingly, have very good accountability for their kids. I mean, it's no different than when you go into school as far as the security is concerned and how they keep track of where the kids are and who picks them up. Even right down, one church I know of actually has a wristband that the kids are given when they come in, and to keep the accountability.
And you work with Council on Aging as well, right?
And we work with them all the time, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. In fact, it's a lot of fun. I worked with Colleen quite a bit on problems that come up between her and our chaplain that we have, who was the pastor at the Congregational Church. The three of us work pretty closely together whenever we do find an issue or a problem.
Great.
To try to come to a good resolve.
Good. Just one other topic on my mind about the ambulance, the bad debt. We need to resolve that, so
that is working on that right now. It's just got the numbers in today, in fact,
Okay.
on where we stand. In fact, I had made some copies, and I think of it, I could just hand these out to you. You can look at them at your pleasure. This is the latest numbers as to where we are with everything. And the debt that we have out there right now, that's one of the things that I'm trying to get my focus on for the next month, to try to get that done. Mike and I had met a couple weeks ago, and I'm gonna get some answers from Comstar on moving forward on trying to reduce that.
Okay. All right, yeah, we'll look forward to some follow-up on that, but pro forma's looking pretty good there, huh?
Yes. Yep.
Great. Any other questions? No?
Keep up the good work. Yes.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
all the firefighters' service and your time and everything you guys do.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
We'll see you now.
Good night. Next up, we have the school department quarterly review and an update on possibly synthetic turf field, and we have school committee chair, Ms. Barbie Linares, in the
Hello.
house. Good evening. Thanks for coming.
Sure. Thanks for
Yeah.
having me. Carol can't be here because she was already booked with the PTA. Tonight's their first meeting, so she already told them she'd attend. But she did want me to tell you that anytime you want her to attend, just give her a call.
We're happy you're here.
Oh, good. I'm happy to be here. I like being on this side. What do you want to hear first? The turf field or just a breakdown?
However you want to go.
Okay.
It's your show.
Okay, Carol, this is information that Carol wanted me to discuss with you. Opening of school went great. Everybody's in session, even preschool. No major issues other than the typical parking. Parents parking at Pearly. And the drop-off was a little difficult the first day, but everything seems to be fine now. Summer was short due to the fact that we got out June 26th last year, or just a couple months ago. This year, we're scheduled to get out June 23rd with no snow days. So, we're keeping our
I
fingers
have
crossed.
a question about that. Why are we doing 2 weeks at Christmas this year rather than 1 week and get out a week earlier?
Well, it turned, we
I already planned my vacations. We don't need to hear it.
Thank you. We
I have a lot of people
actually,
asking me that question.
we had a couple of meetings that we talked about that, because there were a lot of concerns. I actually was one of the people that was concerned about it, because it is a long break for the kids.
Yeah.
Well, for everybody, it's a long break. But it seems that it's only gonna be this year, with that extra, like, I think it falls,
Because sort of how
New
the
Year's
calendar
is like
lines
Wednesday,
Christmas and New Year's are on Wednesdays.
Yeah.
right? So then we just figured,
up. So it's just that funky calendar lined up.
yeah, we just figured, why open the schools
For 2 days.
for
or
2
whatever.
days?
Yeah.
And the teachers, the administrators felt like, okay, let's just do it this one time and see how it goes.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't be faced with that for years.
Okay.
So, but we did have a few concerns from parents wondering.
Yeah, I know a
Why the
lot of
line
people were
break?
asking me about it. So, all right, thanks.
So at this point, we weren't gonna revisit it. A couple of people had asked us to revisit it again, but I think people have made their plans. So we thought it would probably interfere with a lot of things, so.
I wasn't arguing with it.
Phil's
So
thinking
June-
umbrella drinks already, you know?
Huh?
Phil's thinking umbrella drinks already.
Blame them. So June 23rd is the scheduled last day of school, again with no snow days. Thanks to Mike Anderson and his crew, the grounds of all the schools look fantastic. They have done a great job. Mike and his guys really are just, they do whatever we ask them to do. And if you notice, the middle high school looks great. The side, where the mulch is and all the new plantings and everything. They redid the handicapped access going up to
Ramp.
the middle high school and the sidewalk.
Yeah,
So there'll be no pooling of that water like there was,
good.
which is good. A lot of landscaping, mulching the beds, pruning the bushes. Pembroke courtyards look great. The sheriff's department sent some of their friends
Guests.
in, their guests, right? And they helped us out a lot. Peter Durkee and his crew, they do a great job over the summer as well, so we're very happy with everything that they did. Like, they're not busy enough. 31 new staff members across
Wow.
the schools, which is,
Wow.
yeah, it's good for the kids. They see a lot of different faces. We recognize 3 staff members that have 20 years of service or more. Joe Patella, 20 years, Terry Brooks, 20 years, and Nancy Condon, 25. So we were happy to recognize them for their great service. 1 new school committee member, Laureen Polignoni. She has 1 middle school, actually is a high school student now, 9th grader. So we welcomed her in May. We got some sad news from Pembroke. Principal Dr. Tanner is retiring after this year. We wish her the best, but she's been great for the last 7 years, so we're gonna miss her. MCAS data will be out pretty soon to the parents. The schools all did great. They remain at level 2 status. We're very proud of the fact that the middle high school has gone on to, the high school has gone on to level 1, which is just proof in the pudding that our high school students are prepared to move on to college when they graduate. Building projects are moving along. Pembroke design is finished, and the final scope and budget have been submitted to the MSBA. Bid documents are being developed and ready for distribution, and we're still scheduling the groundbreaking for October, late October. Middle high school feasibility studies almost finished through the schematic design. The MSBA board will be reviewing and hopefully approving the project scope and budget at the October meeting. The building committee chairs are coming to the school committee this week. They're gonna give us an update. The scope of the project will be quite narrow, even though the feasibility study will identify items that will fit into a longer-term capital and maintenance plan. The project will be focusing on the areas that have kept us on warning with NEAS for the last 7 years.
Right.
The overcrowding issue, more adequate special education classrooms, groundwater issue and drainage, still an issue at the school, must be eliminated in this project, and the roof also must be analyzed to determine whether a full roof needs to be replaced or if they're just gonna
Patch and partial.
patch it up. We did find some more leaks, additional leaks over the summer. So,
That poor roof.
I know. I know. It's, the voters will have a chance to vote on the recommended changes at the spring 2014 town meeting. The original figures that were mentioned for the middle high school project is not what's being recommended. They're not final at this point, but the scope and budget will be much smaller than originally planned. A more reliable and accurate number should be available late fall, winter. On to the turf field project.
May I ask
Quick
a
question,
Sure.
Is there an update on the NEASC accreditation issue that we have? When is our next communication with them? If you are updated.
Well, in the last school committee meeting, Peter Lucia provided us with a letter that he had sent to them. They're still following closely the whole Pembroke project, realizing that we're, helping the overcrowding issue,
Yep.
things like that. So they're happy with everything that we're doing at this point.
So, okay, so
So
you'll
we're
get
still
a
in
response back from them from the letter.
Yeah, well,
Are we asking for them to remove the cloud that we have over us? Is that what
As
the
far
letter?
as the-
Sorry, I didn't get to watch the school committee meeting.
as far as the warning status?
Yeah.
Well, that's not gonna be removed until we fix the overcrowding issues in the classroom spaces.
Okay, so they want to see it actually executed.
Yes,
completely.
yeah.
Oh,
But
okay.
they are very happy with the way we're addressing things and how the town has been so gracious to
Makes sense.
give us the new school. Turf field project, it's moving slower than we wanted it to be moving. Carol, Rob Hoover, Mike Farrell, and Joan Laporto, they're meeting Wednesday, September 11th. They're gonna finalize the request for design services proposal. That will be posted, we're hoping that will be posted by the end of September. The goal is for the committee, well, hopefully by the end of September, okay. The school committee will approve a design firm by the end of October. We're still hoping that this will start, April,
Okay.
of 2014.
What's been has there been a delay or what's causing you to say we wish it was moving faster?
Well, I think we were hoping that over the summer we could have accomplished more. But I think just with people's summer schedules, it was hard to get this smaller group of people together to go over the RFQ. At the last school committee meeting, we were having kind of a debate as to whether the school committee had to approve the RFQ after this small committee put it together. And then we decided at that point that we shouldn't have to actually approve the document, just approve the actual person that will get the job.
Right.
So that should hopefully move along the process.
Okay.
But we're still hoping, we're hopeful that April will still be the date for us to start working on it.
As far as breaking ground and that type of thing?
Yeah,
Or-
as far as it being
Okay.
started.
Okay.
Yeah, you know what, I'm sorry, I don't know exactly how long, do you know how long it takes, the whole process of the field? I don't
The
know.
construction would go, it wouldn't be ready until the following year.
The following school year, so so April through the summer?
Yes.
Okay. We're hoping that once the designer is selected, that they'll be able to obtain the permits necessary, and then the project will move along at a steady pace.
Barbie, if I could comment on the RFP, RFQ. When it passed the town meeting, based on the schedule that we had from the consultant, even if we went out to bid in May, by the time it got designed and went out to bid, it would have been the fall for construction to start, and they can't start construction in the fall. So they always, we always had April
Yep,
as the construction start.
okay.
Yeah, I think when the group originally met, we were hoping that it would, like, have already started, but then once we realized, okay, there's a lot more that goes into it. So April seems to be the lucky month that it's gonna happen.
Quick question, Mike, have there been any feedback or issues with Concom or planning board or anything, permitting, any of that type of thing that you're aware of, or
No.
concerns or anything? Okay. Great.
Anything would come up over the winter, the design firm would be responsible
Right, going
for
in for the
taking it
permitting.
through permitting.
Okay.
The shared maintenance between the schools and the town has been on hold over the summer. We're hoping that we can get that committee back together and start working together this fall. See if that can be accomplished.
Great.
So that does it for me. If you have any questions, hopefully I can answer them for you. If not, I can get the answer.
Do you have a question from the audience?
Yeah, I just, Ed Desjardins here,
Hi.
up on North Street. General question on Hurley School. I go for an early morning walk, 8, 9 o'clock or so. And today in particular was an absolute disaster in terms of traffic congestion. Nothing was moving. And from what I understand by the grapevine, either there's additional classrooms or additional students now at that school that wasn't there earlier, and it has backed up traffic both on North Street, sort of on Pond. You can't you can't circulate in that area at all. It was almost at a standstill this morning. There were 6, 8, 10 cars or something out in the street trying to get into that little parking lot. And I don't know if traffic has always been an issue there, or if you're gaining more students, or what's causing the problem.
Well, I think the traffic's always been a problem at
Yeah.
Hurley. But the preschool is now back in session.
Okay.
So I'm thinking that it could be like the new parents
Yeah.
that are going
not
into preschool,
sure
they're not
on
so
how to
sure about how to
get
do it. I was
Yeah.
there once and I remember like,
They're clogging up our funnel.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
and I'm hoping that the first couple of weeks
Maybe
they'll
it'll work
figure it
its
out.
way out.
Can't
perhaps,
believe it
yeah.
either.
Yeah, I hope so, but there's definitely
They're in
not,
shock.
Oh, it's a jam there all
More-
the time.
there's not more students that would make such a big deal.
Okay.
You know, so I'm really thinking
I
that
think
it's
it's
probably
getting
the
the
parents.
getting the cars into the lot, dropping off the child, and then getting out.
They might
seems
be
to-
taking pictures.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Hopefully you'll see a change in the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
As the parents get better, but if you don't, feel free to let us know. And there is a police officer out there in the morning. Did you
Yeah.
see him out there? And
Call the cops.
There's a crossing guard also that's helping the folks move it over.
yeah, he's saying to the parents, move, move. So
Yeah, the
hopefully
first
you'll
week
see
or
a
two
change.
is a little bit of pandemonium
Yeah.
Well,
normally,
it
you know?
is. I know the first day of middle high school, because the drop-off is at Pearlie.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
a lot of the new sixth grade parents that were there didn't know the whole routine. And people said that
So they're
that
dropping
day
at
was
Pearlie and having them go down the back
walk through.
walkway?
That's
Oh, okay.
supposed to be the way
Okay.
that you do that.
For
So,
For the middle school?
For six.
middle high school.
Middle high school?
You drop off right at the playground and they walk through, like past the baseball field.
Really?
That is supposed to be the
So all the
exact
hundreds
drop-off.
of people that are dropping their kids off on Library Street, they're not supposed to be doing that,
That's-
including me?
Me too.
Me too.
I do that. I mean, it's not, it's
I
not,
think I missed that memo.
you can't, it's not that you can't do it. We would prefer that
Prefer it that way.
you do it at Pearlie.
So I keep telling Channing,
And
I'm
pick
gonna
up
drop
the
you off
same.
here so you can run
Well, it
through
sounds
that.
like I
can
wanna
keep
stay
going
away
straight.
from Pearlie.
Well, in the
Although
morning, at 7 o'clock, it's not bad.
Yeah, it's not bad at 7.
But the,
It's not really
but I do, and I should ask, Peter Durkee about this. I know there's work being done, scheduled to be done on Library Street.
On, around the library, not Library Street, Winter Street.
Wait, okay.
Park, Maple, Pleasant, Lincoln.
So that's gonna be a problem.
When does that look like that'll happen? Do you know yet, Pete? Or?
October.
Don't mess up my spot.
Your spot won't be there.
Thanks, Peter. Yeah, we'll be there.
It's October and it will last how long?
I would say until December 1st.
Okay. So that's gonna probably
Pearlie,
cause
here I
it, because a
come.
lot of people do drop off there by the
Yeah.
Verizon building.
They say it's shorter to drop off at Pearlie. It's a less of a walk to drop off at Pearlie than it is on Maple Street.
I'll let you tell that to my kids.
It seems longer.
I keep telling my son that, and he's like, no.
It seems longer.
All right.
When I open the door and kick him out, then he'll know where he has to get
Get
dropped off.
Right.
Gary, any questions? No?
No?
Great.
Thanks, Barbie.
That was
Appreciate
easy.
your time. Thanks.
Okay, anytime.
We
Let us know
really
if you
appreciate
need
the
us.
update. It's just great to get like a
Okay.
bird's eye view, you know?
Good.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
Thanks.
All right, gentlemen, I'm looking at this. I think we maybe try and go in order here. So, Union Cemetery discussion with the Historical Commission. We have representative from the Historical Commission or representatives. You gentlemen could please state your name for the record. Thank you.
I'm Joe Knapp.
Hi, Joe.
Member of the Historical Commission.
Hi, Ed.
Historical Commission. Yeah.
And I guess you probably had a chance to read the email I sent to Mike.
Read it through.
Yes, sir.
You were here when the cemetery was taken on by the town, but the other two were not.
They
And
may
just-
not be familiar
Right,
with.
so back in 2008, this took place. The town officially took over Union Cemetery. And they assigned maintenance, of course, to Peter. And that's the only assignment that was officially done.
As far as mowing, basically, right?
Mowing, right.
Maintain.
And he
Yeah.
does a lot of other things too there, but generally keeps it up pretty good. But in the interim, there's never been an official assignment of the duties that go along with maintaining a cemetery in terms of records, in terms of dealing with people who have deeds, in terms of people who are funeral parlors who end up wanting to bury people there.
Mm-hmm.
And they have it, someone shows up with a deed and they just go and do it. And in the past, when it wasn't regulated by anybody, because it was abandoned for a long time, funeral parlors would just bury someone there and not give any records to anybody.
Hmm.
So we have lost a lot of valuable information in terms of who's there. And no one knows that more than I do, because I get all the calls from Jan, our clerk, who are looking for people in Union Cemetery. And we found out that our records are very poor. Even the maps we had prepared at the latest gravestone assessment are not adequate to let us know who's there. So they end up wandering aimlessly around the cemetery and then get irritated and figure, how come the town doesn't do a better job than this? Well,
Nobody's in charge.
Nobody's,
Exactly.
it's not officially. Now,
Right.
up to this point, we've been dealing with, as a
Common
commission,
problem we have in this town.
primarily preservation. That's our role
Yeah,
as a
yeah.
commission. And we feel we're doing that. We get grants to do, like we did a
We've got some
gravestone.
work being done, right? Some restoration.
Gravestone
Yeah.
Yep.
rehabilitation and vegetation removal, which Peter did a lot of. We had a grant to do that around the
The
stone.
wrought iron railing, the
Fence,
fence along the front.
That was,
a
that started
big
it
one.
all. And that's what got the town to take it over and in reality, because that
Some
started back in 2004.
100 years or so went by without much being done in terms of
Right.
stone repair. So when we took that over, we got a grant, and were able to take care
Okay.
of that.
So now the issue is, it's very simple. As I put a tongue-in-cheek statement here, because that's what happened that night. When we signed it over officially, the selectmen just wanted to, okay, it's done, we'll talk about that later. You guys go and do two things. Get a landscape plan, a preservation and rehabilitation landscape plan, which we got a grant for, and we have an issue of that, and we try to peck away at it in terms of preserving the cemetery. And that's, the town funded that out of a CPA, and it's pretty thick volume.
Wow.
And it was $15,000, so not something to be just put on the table and forgotten, you know?
It's
We
very
did pay.
detailed as
Very
far as
detailed.
what would they recommend
Right.
and what should be done in the management end of it.
Like it has run down a lot in terms of the roadways and some of the vegetation has taken over a lot of the stones, but that's been, Peter's pretty much got that under control now with a grant we had to do that. The other thing we had done, but it wasn't the town that paid for it, was a gravestone assessment, which was done while we were still the Union Cemetery Corporation. We had money left in the till and we used it to do that. So every stone that's in the cemetery has been looked at and some comments about what should be done to it. And we got a grant to do 86 stones for $47,000.
47, yeah.
The oldest stones have been, pretty good job they've done on it.
There's still work in that area, however. There are many stones that are on their side.
There's something like
and fallen
500
over,
Do they
but-
reset them and then
Yeah,
point them if
exactly.
they need to and things
Yeah,
like that?
yeah, repair them where possible, but like Joe said, that there's
Right.
a lot yet that we have to tackle. Some of the more recent stones that are gone, we tried to take the very earliest ones.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta remember that cemetery's been sitting there for some 270, 80
1731,
years
yeah.
or something. 1732.
My kids were amazed when we go in and we do the flags, you
Yeah.
know, for Memorial Day, and my 11-year-old daughter was like, "Wow, I can't believe
Oh, the
I'm looking at
dates,
you know
yeah.
gravestone from 1723." You know, I said, "This,
That's right.
this is the cradle of America right here."
Exactly.
You know? And they were
that-
pretty blown away by that.
And that's not our oldest cemetery. The oldest cemetery is out at near Byfield Parish Church,
Yeah.
1702.
Wow.
You gotta do the October tour, it's right there.
Yeah.
They'll tell you how
The
many
October
selectmen
tour.
died there and how many deaths they died. It was.
So,
Really? That's interesting.
so the real issue for us,
You guys should do a ghost tour. That would be fun.
well,
Which
the
there
Historical
are.
Society does.
Yeah, let it remind us because that would be really
And
interesting.
Chris
to
Comiskey
do.
And that's one place where the selectmen need to be involved every year, because they look for permission to do that. Coming on town property, and they get a
Yeah.
permit from you folks to do it,
Yeah, that'd be really interesting.
so,
Good.
but my
Yeah.
reason for this meeting, or request of Mike, was that I starting to feel uncomfortable, although I've been doing most of the interaction with the customers, and when I deal with deed requests for burial and stuff like that, I feel a little uncomfortable, because I'm giving statements. In fact, I sent one through you. It was just, remember, they had to just renew the stone, update the stone, because I had to give them permission to come on a turf, and they showed me the deed and update the stone. So, but I felt like we aren't authorized to do that, even though the board, the Historical Commission Board, we vote on it
Yep.
and say, well, let's go ahead and do it. Well,
Okay.
it's presumptuous, because we were never given the authority to do anything at the cemetery regarding the issues that I mentioned.
Okay.
And so what I would like to see is that, yes, we do have the authority to, for example, I would like to write a letter to all the funeral parlors that use
have the potential of using that cemetery, and perhaps even put a sign up, that if they're gonna bury anybody there, they have to let us know, the town commission, otherwise we're not gonna ever have our records correct. Now, that, you can see that smacks of a selectman input, really, because you're
Yeah,
on property.
yeah, go ahead. Like, Gary, I had a
Do you
couple
know
questions.
perhaps the last time somebody was buried there?
Yeah, there was,
Fairly recently, I think, a couple of years ago.
yeah, 2 years ago, there
2
was a
years ago,
Hills,
yeah.
no, but I think there's been one since that got by us. Because someone said they saw a hearse there and people working with shovels, and I didn't get there in time to find out where it was, so.
Was it day or
So
night?
it is
Right.
just to make it clear,
Right,
that
right.
it is a
Yeah.
problem that
Yeah,
that's recent.
yeah. There are lots that are available, and there are plots, that someone purchased, of 75, 100 years.
And they have a bylaw book which they were given when they signed up for those plots, so we have to honor it,
Yeah.
if there's empty plots. So I guess I'm looking for you folks to assign that responsibility in a formal way so that we don't
Yeah.
do things that we shouldn't
Okay,
do.
understood. I have a couple questions, and Mike, maybe you can help us out. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, he
You
did,
good? Okay. I just didn't know if you wanted to continue. When I was at a recreational park committee meeting last week, question came up very similar to the monument, Civil War, who's in charge, who's not. I know Pete's been doing maintenance. Some of them have, funding from rec department, So we've got a little bit of a conundrum here that's inclusive of all of from what I understand, all of the cemeteries, the Civil War monument, and a couple other parcels, as far as the question between who's in charge and who's supposed to be paying for things, who's supposed to be doing maintenance, and who has kind of input on what gets done where and how and by whom. So I think this plays into a little bit larger discussion that we're going to have, and we should probably maybe put it on the next agenda or two, to figure out how we sort that out.
Yeah, our input has always been, if it's a historic park or a historic place like Birch Park,
Yeah.
then we should have some say in what goes on there, even though it's under the park
Parks
department.
and Recreation, yeah.
Because that's officially, I guess it's written up officially in our bylaws that they have responsibility for all parks. Now cemetery, that's a new term in the town's repertoire, so
Right.
that's not defined in any bylaw, I don't think, but.
Harmony is
Harmony owned
privately
you?
owned,
No.
so that's.
That is
the
privately
difference.
owned? Okay.
Yeah, that's privately
Town
owned.
doesn't own that? Harmony?
As is
didn't realize that.
South Byfield, which is
Okay.
also in Georgetown.
Okay. All right.
But this one is in kind of in limbo. There should be a group or a committee or someone that, as Joe said, that's responsible for knowing what's happening or who's being buried or documentation. Kind of.
So based on your note here to us, the Historical Commission is interested and willing to take this on as a responsibility?
I don't know
Or-
about that.
Well,
Or is
yeah,
that not what I'm reading
I
in
think
here?
it's so obvious that that's where it belongs, because who has the records? Who has the knowledge? Where's all, it would be, that's why I said tongue in cheek, because the selectmen would never want to take that on with the scraps of stuff we've got to deal with, so.
You ended up doing, I don't know how many
Right.
months of research here to get it to the point where it was ready to go to the town. Joe practically lived at the Registry of Deeds for I don't know how many weeks
Yeah,
or months.
Kept you a little busy, huh? No,
Well, we
thank
had
you
to
for
become
doing
the
it.
owner of the cemetery,
Technically,
because that was the issue. No one owned it. It was incorporated way back in time, and we had to prove it never was canceled, and therefore, we got it reincorporated,
Okay,
and then we were able to sign it over to the town
gotcha.
as a gift.
Well, we appreciate it.
And they didn't want to be I remember Steve Delaney, we don't want to be in the cemetery business.
That's why I was tongue in cheek and bit my tongue as
Right,
much as I
right.
could.
Question,
Yes.
and probably more to Mike, what would be the procedure? Do you think the selectmen can do this, or does it need to be a town meeting? How did we handle it in the past? And maybe Phil knows.
Well, it was done on the off the cuff ad hoc, and these gentlemen were the ones just because nobody else had ownership of it. And I think we actually have an appointment opening for some cemetery overseer, don't we? That hasn't been filled in
There should be.
10 to 15 years.
It should be, yeah.
Yeah, no, we've no one, I
I
mean,
think since Don Gordon was a test, there's been people filling it, but they've kind of been doing it unofficially, because
We had a lot of volunteers for everywhere from maintenance to you-know-what to, to try to keep it up. But the money and the funds had run out at that point.
right.
I think
I'd
the-
say we need to check Mass General Law to see what direction the state has. They usually just devolve it down to the local level. That's always been their
Yeah.
MO.
I guess it is, what you're saying though, is the town now is the official
The owner.
caretaker.
Yeah.
Or whatever of it,
Right.
as not the others. I know like in South Byfield there's a board.
Right.
And the other one in South Byfield and Newbury is trustees of the church.
Can we sell it? Make some money on it?
How much is a grave worth? I
Well,
don't
you
know.
may be able to sell plots if there's any left.
No, I don't
Who
think
knows?
there's any left. I think they're
Yeah.
cleaned out at this point.
All right, so, Mr. Chair, if you don't mind, so it sounds to me as though we've got a little bit of just some quick homework that we have to do.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
I can tell you, there's probably a pretty good appetite to empower you or authorize the Historic Commission to act on behalf of the town to maintain and manage.
So on the issue of issuing a letter
Yeah.
to the funeral parlors, because I don't want to get caught again with, could we do that and have you guys sign it, or,
I'd recommend that.
yeah, and then have it distributed to the
Yep.
most likely funeral parlors? So we can work on that, and at least that would get us some kind of information coming in.
Yeah.
Because in the last year, I've had like 15 or 20 calls of people looking for people, and we can't find them. And they have evidence that they're in that cemetery.
Hmm.
Where are they? You know, like, oh, well.
I'm not
Now, and that's when,
exhuming any bodies to
Right.
figure out who's who.
and
by
of
the
course, our records are poor. We have this one book that was out in 1999. You may have seen it, Union Cemetery. Now, the problem is that most of it's based on paper inputs, never done a physical inventory over most of the cemetery. So the maps that are in it and the names and the lists are pretty good in the older section, but in the newer sections, which means up to 1898 or in that region, they're very poor. If you take the map and go look at the stone in the area where it says it's located, it ain't the people that,
That's not there, huh?
it's not there. So,
Interesting.
and we have people coming from Maine who are looking for a stone they know is, or a relative buried there, and they couldn't find a stone at all. But the grandmother remembered, well, when I was a little girl, I went up this road and walked under.
called where it was, right?
And she told me, and I looked, and there it was, buried in the grass. And they came and put they wanted to resurrect a new monument, because it was a broken down thing that had been put in a long time ago. So
Okay.
we just need some kind of document to give us the authority, so we don't remain as nervous as we get sometimes when someone asks us, can I bury, for example, if we have evidence that
Grant.
Doherty has it's obviously a family plot, they can't find the deed.
Yep.
Now, what do you do? And they want to put an urn in there with someone's cremated, I mean, I got a request to do that now, and I feel a little awkward because I'm using authority to say, yeah, go ahead and do it, that I don't have.
Right.
So,
Okay, we understand. We will look into it and
Okay.
get back to
Okay.
you, and thank
The
you.
preservation master plan, by the way, is very detailed, but as Joe said, some of these don't,
They don't look
they're not in the plot that they're supposed to be. But we spent some $47,000 or so.
on the earliest, yeah, that was
on the early
15K,
one.
that.
Yeah, putting it all together. So there's been a lot of homework done already.
You
on
know,
it.
the Boy Scouts are going to be doing.
There, that was a good opportunity. We had mentioned that as a possibility, taking that on maybe as a project for the Scouts.
Yeah, I'm on the Historic Commission, so we haven't met all summer, so
Yeah.
I think we need to get that.
Yeah,
That's
that's-
something we could bring to life, that would help, I think.
All right.
Okay,
Excellent.
Thanks, guys.
thank you.
Have a wonderful evening.
Yeah, you too.
Excellent. Thanks for coming in,
Yeah,
Yes,
and thanks for serving.
okay.
yes.
We appreciate it.
Learned a lot of history.
Yeah. All right, moving right along. Item number 2, personnel bylaw discussion. Mike, you want to bring us up to speed? I think we have our friend here that would like to discuss this as well with us. And how are you, sir?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm seeing you. I like your orange shirt.
you.
Been out golfing?
No,
Mr. Rich is in the house.
not lately.
Well, we have a recommendation, and this board has discussed the recommendation, but hasn't taken any action on it yet. Give that a copy to Chris. From the DOR recommendation was, they suggested that when town has a full-time personnel officer, it lessens the need for a personnel board. We've had a personnel board for quite a while. We've had a personnel officer for, my predecessor was the personnel officer. I don't know exactly when it was changed, but we have an issue right now where we have to do one thing or another. The personnel board has, for all intents and purposes, become deactivated. Number one, because they didn't have enough members on the board, couldn't get a quorum, had a hard time getting a quorum, even when they had, well, since I've been here, you've only had no, there was 4 members originally. It dropped to 2, and dropped to 3, and then to 2, and now to 1. But the reason for the dropping below the 3 was a conscious effort on the board to wait and see whether you wanted to go reconstitute the board or follow the recommendation of DOR. And we're basically at that point now. We gotta do one thing or another. I asked legal counsel, this was not a reinvention of the wheel. They have a bylaw that this bylaw that's in front of you has been approved by the Attorney General's office for other communities. They've basically just changed the name of the communities. It's a standard bylaw. But it would need, because it's a bylaw, it would need to be approved by a town meeting vote.
Okay.
There's not a lot of pressing issues that come before the board. But this bylaw does go a lot further than what the current personnel board does. Number one, it gives selection and hiring and firing authority to the town administrator for non-statutorily appointed employees. Like anybody that the selectmen appoint would be that authority would be turned over to the town administrator. Normally, it's with approval, final approval. It doesn't say that in this edition, but that's often the case.
For board appointees?
Yes, yes. And that basically entails the fire chief, police chief,
Okay.
and the building inspector. All the other department heads are, and it would, everybody else, conservation, planning, everyone else would be, the different boards would retain, under this proposed bylaw, retain hiring authority. Before you made a complete change, that would require the charter.
And nothing, no one in schools, right?
Right. And the two, even though this says the two, the water department and the electric department would fall under the personnel policies, and they pretty much do already. In practice, that's not the case at all. They pick and choose pretty much what personnel policies they want to follow. So it would bring them under the fold too.
Questions?
I remember well the discussion. I tried shortly before we came to find out when we talked about this. I'm pretty sure that we talked, when we first discussed this, about getting a joint meeting with the other, I believe it's now finance, and doesn't also the moderator have an appointment? And we were gonna try to get together with them before we followed up on this. I believe that probably goes back to the first part of June or the end of May. It wasn't at the June 17th. I looked at the records there. But I'm pretty sure that's what the board decided at that time.
Yeah, that's the way the current, here's a copy of the current bylaws. Do you have this? And under 105.3, this is the current way the personnel board gets constituted.
Right, but I think Gary was talking about in terms of process for us to have a quality conversation or debate on this is that because the other folks have, and the other committees have joint appointment on the personnel board appointments, that we want to get their input as well. Did I sum up?
That was pretty much what the last time we talked about this, that's what I thought with our decision, that we would try to get a joint meeting, and that would certainly help us going forward in deciding what to do. I have some other, I'm not fully understanding, Mike, who this is gonna involve if we follow up with this. You know, you mentioned a lot of departments. Like the Conservation Commission has a commissioner. Would the town administrator be hiring the commissioner?
No,
Okay.
no, that's a statutory, the Conservation Commission general laws say that they're responsible for their personnel.
So this includes all the personnel that so they have like a commissioner and probably a administrator that works for them? Administrative
The
assistant?
agent and the administrator, yeah, they're hired
So
hired
those-
and fired.
So those boards would basically still
They'd retain,
they'd retain that,
their,
but
they
if,
would still be the hiring authority.
okay, but now.
Nothing would change as far as that's concerned.
And so if there's an issue, then that would go in front of a personnel board, if there was an issue perhaps there, that wouldn't be changing? Or they'd go in front of you,
That,
if this
that's
was, or
the
the
way
town,
it
the
is
present
now.
town
The
administrator?
way it is now, if there's an issue with the employee, yeah, well, actually, if anybody's disciplined, it goes to the Board of Selectmen, and then the Board of,
Yeah, we have.
then the employee can actually appeal then to the Board of, the Personnel Board.
So like highway department, it wouldn't involve any workers there with the highway department? With Peter is a elected
Yeah, Peter's the hiring, the surveyor of highways is the hiring authority for the staff there.
So we're basically talking a few employees in town hall.
Fire, police,
Fire,
Town
police,
hall.
and the building inspector. I can't think of anybody else. Oh,
Finance and treasury.
Finance and treasury.
So would we not be doing appointments of police like we typically do or would we?
You have to, through general law, make the appointment, but so that would change. And the chief does the selection. This,
we make the appointment on the recommendation of the selection.
yes.
And then we don't have the authority to hire a fire policeman or a policewoman. That comes from the chief of police.
Yeah, they're responsible, once again, by Mass General Law, since we've adopted the strong chiefs legislation on both police and fire.
So, very quick question. So when I'm reading 105-2, it would include the highway department personnel, employees.
The policies would cover everybody,
Okay.
yes.
Including, let's say, the highway.
Everybody,
The highway surveyor and.
yes, yeah, any full-time employee, full-time or part-time employee of the town, excluding school. The policies would and should apply.
So my question is this says all employees of the town excluding elected officials. As an example, Peter sitting in the audience is an elected official, is he not?
He is, but I think the way
Certain policies would apply to him, vacation time, sick time.
yeah,
Would
that
be-
may be it does say somewhere that the specifically the town clerk and the highway surveyor
Would fall under that.
follow the personnel policy. I think it's in the personnel policy.
I believe it is. Don't ask me where.
Yeah, me neither.
Okay.
So that wouldn't be a change either.
Okay.
It's just who's administering.
No, I'd like to hear from Mr. Rich in terms of.
Any other questions for you?
I was gonna, as what Bill, just perhaps from Chris.
Hear from our lone
Uh,
personnel board member.
But perhaps.
Pseudo board member, we don't, limbo board member.
It's obvious that we've had some difficulties this year anyway,
Yeah.
and I don't know about in the past. And perhaps what he might see is some of the difficulties just to help us make a decision.
I'm going to somewhat take exception to having trouble finding a quorum. We've always scheduled our meetings with members that hadn't resigned. We had active members. Scheduled meetings as their schedules allowed. I personally forwarded 2 names of 2 people who are interested in being on the personnel board, and both people have asked me why they haven't been contacted. And then I was told that I was supposed to go and get FinCom and town moderator to go in with the, move the appointments along. I think that's stretching a little bit, gentlemen.
If I,
It's hard enough to find somebody to serve on a board. If you forward someone the name of someone, and the person came in, wrote a letter, one person came in, wrote a letter, delivered it, that he's interested in being on the board. And the board, if you look at the reasoning behind why this board exists, it's extremely important that there be an independent review available to someone who's, number one, not a town employee, that knows how to read the intent of a bylaw, know what the intent is, look at an employer-employee relationship, if you will. Listen to the facts and come to a decision in a timely manner. Listen to facts presented, evidence presented, and come to a written decision in a timely manner. The employees in this town should be entitled to that. They passed a bylaw giving that to them. You folks would have to repeal that bylaw. And I think it would not be in the employee's best interest. Our town administrator has enough things to do. We started things, we started the simple reviews, annual reviews. We sent out notices to all the department heads, mandatory annual reviews. I don't think we ever got them. Have we, Mike?
No.
No. We did the wage and,
Well, that's an issue in terms of authority of the town and the way that we're structured with the town administrator right now. It's designed that way, that there's no accountability, unfortunately, in the way that we manage town hall.
if he's the HR director and the HR director says, I need a review of everybody in your department, and you don't get it, shame on someone other than the employee. I'm not gonna throw anyone under the bus,
It's
because this poor guy's going, every which way to Sunday. The town administrator's got so many hats on, he should open a store.
Look, I first of all, I've always, everything that's come through here that was personnel related, we as a board have always said, let's put this in front of the personnel board as well.
And I think we've acted on it.
And I'm assuming you have. I don't see a lot of and I've never had a reason to think that you haven't. But your issue, and one of the DOR recommendations to look at is just the way the government structure is evolved in other towns that have grown like ours, and ours hasn't. So it's something that we've got to deal with. But right now, there's no teeth in any request or mandate to most town employees, because our town administrator has one direct report, and that is our administrative assistant. So without any teeth and without any...
I saw her hat.
I know.
She wears many of those.
I think administrative assistant is
She has
an
more hats than I do.
understatement.
Yeah.
To completely agree. But let's assume, let's just make an assumption. There's one assumption here, right? That the assumption that I have is that we can get a quorum, we can get a board and make it happen. So the question is, if we had that, let's assume we did for a moment, would it be better served for us to have a single individual responsible for it? It would streamline it, or would it be better served for the community to continue the way that it was structured? And that's the bigger issue that we have. I mean, you gotta get a quorum, you gotta get a board together. We know that. Let's assume we've got that for a second. Now it's what are the tangible benefits on the personnel board being established and continuing to operate versus having a town administrator or a human resource officer. Now, those are the issues on the table, right?
And one thing that I told you, Philip, is that, number one, an independent
Yep, got that.
view. Number two, you've got when a job posting comes up and it's gonna be posted, comes before the personnel board, we had 3, 4, 5 people looking at it.
Right.
5 people, 4 members and Michael. A lot of input, a lot of changes, a lot of discussion. And when compensation came up, we had the benefit of having a FinCom member on the board who intimately knew the finances of the town. And that advice was very valuable. And even though she says she doesn't want to be, I'm not too sure she can't be talked back on. Taunton is a polished diamond, not a diamond in the rough, but a polished diamond in this community, as far as I'm concerned, with their knowledge of.
If I could,
Sure.
I actually want to add something.
Yes.
Gary,
no, go ahead.
Part of the board is, it does have to have, though, a town employee.
Yes.
Resident and town employee, so it isn't all, because I served on the personnel board
Yeah.
for a short time.
Want to be on it again?
No.
Howard.
Yes, but it is very, and
One-
that is very
one vote,
difficult.
and that's a tough
It was-
position. I mean, ask Debbie, who,
Yeah, Debbie Rogers, and it was a
Debbie
very
Rogers
tough position
resigned.
for a
It's a
town.
very tough position for a town employee to be in.
So that, but that's part of the bylaw, that it has to be.
Yes,
That's
so,
so-
you know, the employees have
Just-
representation, but if
just
you
so
put
that
it
it's-
all in, put all of that in one person's, granted, if, in a perfect world, if you could take a totally non-biased person and put him in that position, he's a town employee. Your town administrator is a town employee. You have a town employee who's going to hire, fire, and discipline, handle all the discipline, and the employee has no avenue of appeal at that point. That's putting all your eggs in one basket, and it's also, where's he gonna get the time? We started on the wage and salary classification, and I'm sure, you know, we get all the way down to the forms that were going out to the department heads for the information, and I'm sure they went out, and we didn't get them back. It's very hard to do a wage and salary classification. Want to do something? Give the personnel board a little bit more teeth. So we can require that it be done.
Could I interject now, or is Chris is done? You jogged my memory. And I do believe that the selectmen need to take some responsibility, because if I remember correctly now, it was at appointments that we did discuss getting the other boards in. And on appointments, we did discuss that DOR had suggested this, and we said, let's hold off on the appointments and let's talk to the other appointing authorities, and then we will decide. I believe that is how it happened. And the selectmen, in my opinion, have dropped the ball there. We missed some meetings. I am part of that. I was away for 6 weeks this summer. Some meetings did get postponed. And so I think that we do need to get back on track on that as quick as possible, because as I said, it appeared, I made the statement, it appears that they're dysfunctional right now, or something of that sort, and it is, I think, does fall back somewhat to us.
I would say right now, we're not functional.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, my recommendation is, and is to consider, I think, as Gary said, I'd like to have other folks have some input into it, to the other appointing authorities. And Mike, there's a reason that you really are advocating this on behalf of the town. One is that you're either having some trouble getting something done, you don't feel you have enough authority to do something, it's inefficient and ineffective, and I think I'd like to learn a little bit more about what is the challenges that you have with the current situation. And assuming that there was a quorum, there was a full active board, if some of that could be relieved or not, would that help out? Because I can't imagine you just want to do this out of the goodness of your heart, because you're not busy enough. So we don't need to get out.
Somebody has to do it, and one of the bigger problems, and it's mentioned in the bylaw, proposed bylaw, we don't have a centralized personnel file.
Right.
That's illegal. Every department has their own personnel file. There's only supposed to be one personnel file for each employee. And there's multiple, I'm here to tell you.
I don't think a board, in any of our meetings, I don't think the board ever had a problem. Matter of fact, we were all of the understanding that you were in charge of all the personnel files.
I don't have, I have personnel files, but I don't have the authority to say, police chief, you can't keep personnel files.
Oh, I think the only way you're gonna get the personnel files out of the police chief's hand is from his cold dead hand.
No, not with our new police chief, but,
Oh, no, that new police chief, but,
All right, I mean, these are the things, I just need a list of what it is that the challenges that we have, what are our risks with having it one way or the other? What are the pros and cons, and I just don't know enough about what you do in your you know, from an HR perspective, and how you should be interacting with the board if it was an active board. We would just need to get a little bit more finite, more in detail on that, because I think it's, you know, in theory, it's a, I mean, I agree with the concept that it's a check and balance, but if it's preventing us from actually accomplishing what needs to be accomplished, then there's a problem. So I think I would love to continue this conversation with the other guys.
Yeah,
I don't disagree with you on that, Phil. I think our goal has always been to, at least my goal as the chair, has been to expedite. I don't like wasting time. Somebody needs a position filled, get the board together, get it addressed, get it done.
Yep.
We had people resign, you know, and then we're not there. And, I mean, I'm always available, right down to, you know, people calling me at night at home, asking me to look at something as the chair. As I am for all the other boards and committees that I'm on.
I've been doing this for a while now, and I've seen, I mean, we had some instances where we had to settle with some employees because of HR policy issues that weren't followed. And I know it's cost the town as well. So I think this is an important discussion that we have to have. And I don't think you're looking at us rushing into this. We know we have a meeting coming up, and, you know, a special town meeting to consider one way or the other, but we need to do a little bit more depth and homework here.
I'd like to be included in that, if
Sure.
that's okay,
You will be.
in the notice.
I guarantee you will be.
Mike, so do you think it's possible for the next Board of Selectmen meeting to get parties involved here for that?
Sure.
Because coming up, if we're coming up on special town meeting, and we've got obviously warrant to open tonight and some deadlines and things like that, hopefully we could maybe have a discussion there in case we need to do a warrant article or not, and hopefully make it in time in case we can get to that decision at that point. I think it would be
23rd.
2 weeks.
Yeah, we can schedule for our next meeting. Oh, you're on vacation on the 23rd?
I'm gonna go play golf, Mike.
Hey, you were just saying you're available. I just heard you're available
My cell
all
phone,
the
75 minutes away.
Just kidding.
And I would come home.
You would come in. Well, we would appreciate it. We would definitely don't want you coming in on your vacation, but it is what it is, I
Tell
guess.
that to the planning board.
Yeah. Any other questions? Gary, you sounded like you
Well,
had something, you had a question.
you know, our next meeting is, we're gonna open a warrant tonight, correct? And our next meeting is, we're gonna close the warrant in 2 weeks, is the plan.
You can put a placeholder.
You know, we always put a placeholder, and then come the last minute, we're deciding what to do with it. I am so tired of placeholders. I mean, you know, we talked about this, we talked about it back in May.
52 weeks.
We
Go
talked
right
about
ahead.
it
We
back
don't
in
have time
May,
for
and
that.
here it is September.
know.
Maybe we should meet next week and just for this, try to get people together.
Maybe we should.
I mean, I think if there's 3 of us here, we can schedule a meeting. I don't know that you're acting chair. We've dropped the ball on this. I mean, we dropped the ball on meetings this summer, and let's work a little overtime here, get something done.
Well, a lot of stuff can be done behind the scenes as well, so. if you want to-
Behind the scenes, okay.
Yeah, that's where I get most of my information, so I do it behind the scenes, so we don't have to waste time in a public meeting, Gary, that's the reason why I said that. I don't know, I can't be here next Monday night, I'm traveling, but, if you wanna schedule something, go right ahead.
I'll make time, whatever the board's pleasure is.
Mike, where was our window for the warrant? I had some notes in here and I'm not seeing them. When do we have to? Oh, thank you. I know it was in here. Actually, it's over here, isn't it? Yep. So open, close on the 23rd, and post on the 3rd. So we have a tight timeline.
And it should be. This is a town meeting, it's a special town meeting where it's not supposed to be a big meeting.
Yeah, no, I
There's
know,
only
it's
supposed to be
not
a few items on
whole
this.
bunch
and it
on
shouldn't
there.
be a,
Agreed.
you know.
Will and pleasure of the board. You want to try and schedule a meeting for next week? And let me ask the other question: is this something that we want to strive, if need be, to be able to put on a warrant article?
The answer that I'm gonna give is that, you know, your meeting next week, because I'm not here, if you can have that with short notice, for the other committees, that's contingent on that. And secondly, yeah, I would put this as something to consider for our special town meeting.
Okay.
I think that, you know, this isn't rocket science, this is something that we can come to a decision within a couple of weeks, even one more meeting, if we do some work and some investigating behind. I wanna spend time with, both gentlemen here and some others on the board, who've been on it or have, are seeking to go on it, and
18 holes worth of time?
I wish I broke my toe, I can't right now.
That's why they have golf
So,
carts.
do it.
Gary, your thoughts?
I don't see enough time. Phil mentions doing things behind the scenes, and that, I don't see talking about discussing things in an open meeting as a waste of time for the town. I see that as what we should be doing. Yes, there's certain things that can be done, but I don't see getting this done. No. Can I ask, do we need the special town meeting for financial purposes? I see that as Article 1.
I'm sorry?
The special town meeting.
He's asking about the article.
Do we have to have one for financial purposes?
Yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
okay. So we have to have a special town meeting, that's my question.
Yes.
Even if it's just Article 1.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
the fire department wasn't budgeted. The ambulance department wasn't budgeted, and we had a huge oversight in the highway department budget.
Because if I may, Stu, what I see here is 4 things. The other one, planning board, medical marijuana bylaw. We're gonna put a placeholder on it. They missed their meeting. They're not gonna, they don't have another one till mid-month.
If I can speak for the planning board, as vice chair, there was a public hearing was scheduled. There was confusion in the notice, and rather than risk not having it correct, it was re-noticed. And I believe it's on for week after next, planning board. This week coming up, we're discussing the solar and wind bylaw that the planning board's going to propose.
So is that proposed for fall or spring?
I don't think there are any exigent circumstances for that it would need to be done that quickly. Medical marijuana may be a different issue. We've got people who are coming into town, have voiced their interest in what the town's policies are and if they can fit a business within it. And there are cases that have shown that if a town, you can't exclude it by action or inaction.
Right.
And we don't want to put the town at risk. So we're trying to move on it as fast as legally possible.
And you see that being done by, when's it have to be posted? Do you have that on there?
October 3rd.
Yeah.
Well,
October
you
3rd.
have to approve the warrant,
Mhm.
and they'd have to bring it to you to get on the warrant. And it's gonna be posted by the 10th, by 10/3.
So the bylaw would have to be approved and posted by then, or can that be, again, a placeholder that we won't know about until October 28th
No,
at
it
6
would
p.m.
have to be in its final form by the 3rd.
Final form by the 3rd. And would our bylaw fall under the same rule?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, so it sounds to me like we might want to see if we can schedule a meeting for next Monday. I'll put the word out and see if the other members can make it. I don't know if this room will be available, but certainly we can.
Usually it is Mondays, no one else
Okay,
usually.
we can find space.
Selectmen.
Well, no, I don't know. Some people are, doing this something maybe opposite weeks that we meet.
Yeah, I mean,
So
if
we'll
we,
need to have the moderator and
FinCom.
at least the FinCom chair or representative.
Yeah.
if we can't get them, I don't see the need to
Okay.
move forward, unless we got some other stuff we need to work on.
And Janet, will you let me know?
Mike, would you and Janet look into that, see if we can get the moderator and FinCom and willing participants from the Board of Selectmen that are not in attendance this evening? Let us know. We can do potentially 6, 7, depends on what people's schedules look like. Sound like a plan?
Thank you.
Mr. Rich, any other thoughts, questions, comments?
I'm not available for the cemetery position.
Never say never. Yeah, be careful what
I
you
didn't say never, I just said
That's on point.
Well, thank you for your time.
you're most entirely welcome.
We will maybe be seeing you next Monday, so we'll let you know.
And I just want to preface something. I don't want anyone to think that I was saying anything derogatory about Mr. Farrell. I think he's got too much on his plate.
No, I haven't heard. No,
I
not
think
at
the
all.
guy is overworked and underpaid.
Well, we definitely have to vet it, look at both sides of the equation, and
By
hopefully.
the grin on his face, I think he agrees.
Yeah, he knows.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
Thanks, Chris.
We get a lot of value out of Mr. Farrell, right?
Should fit in minutes.
He's walking added value. Living, breathing added value. Thank you, Mr. Rich.
You're welcome.
All right. Why don't I move along with Peter, who's been sitting here very patiently. Mr. Durkee from the Highway Department is here to see us. So,
Should only take a couple hours.
all right. You've been here for what, an hour and a half. So, our apologies for keeping you so
I'm not
long, sir.
apologizing. It's good to see you, Peter.
It's always good to see Pete, our favorite bootstrapper in town.
Here we go again with some bootstraps. A gentleman approached me at my office about putting a container in down near the highway garage for books and clothing. The town would get paid, it doesn't go into the highway department budget, it would be into the general budget. The town would get paid 3 cents a pound for books. Let's see here.
5 cents.
Books, CDs, DVDs, audiobooks, records, and then the textiles, they would get 5 cents a pound, and that would be, all different types of clothing, shoes, watches, jewelry, wallets with cash in them, belts, everything to do with clothing. So right now we have we have the Salvation Army down there, which would stay. I think we have Planet. There's another Planet Aid is down there, and that would stay. We also have a book container down there, which would leave because the town doesn't receive any money toward that. The other two are.
What book is it? What book company do you know?
I'm not sure, but that would leave, and this one would take its place, and the town would get some money. Who knows how much? Every little bit helps.
Okay.
Maybe we could pay the person that takes care of the cemeteries.
Honestly, maybe. Let me talk about this topic for a minute. Being in the property management business that I'm in and with Simon Malls, I write contracts with these guys all day long, across the country, through New England, in my properties, and I would prefer, rather than on a per pound basis, to have a monthly rent due and paid, and the nonprofits pay as well as the profits. In Simon Malls, so I would have I would like to take it to a higher discussion. If you've got Planet Aid, they pay me at Simon Malls, If the Salvation Army wants to come in and put stuff on, they pay me at Simon Malls. I would encourage that we look at this and have every single bin that's on public property or town property be a paid monthly lease. Forget this
Okay.
audit thing of per pound, because that can be absolutely manipulated.
Yep.
And it's just way easier if it's, for my numbers, it's $100 to $500 a month is what we get
Okay.
at Simon Malls for these things, depending on the property and you know, the level of number of bins they may have or something like that. So that would be my recommendation, just in terms of looking at this. And take a look at all those other companies you have on site and have a discussion, because, you know, easily 100 or 2 a month out of a bin is what people are paying market rate.
Okay.
Very easily. We should be able to get that.
All right.
That would be my recommendation. Questions, thoughts, comments?
Can I ask you
Yeah.
a question?
Mhm.
What comes to my mind is what's happening with the material. I mean, I'd much rather see, is it St. Vincent's that has the books, perhaps, or something? I know they have.
Yeah, they're all, a lot of
I mean,
them do the
I'd
same.
much rather see a good nonprofit there, rather than a for-profit company that we don't know where the profit's going.
Well, be careful, even the St. Vincent's are potentially profit. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So
well, that's
it's,
what I'm saying. I
it's
don't
very-
know how much you know about
Yeah,
it.
it's-
That's the question I'm asking.
Yeah.
Is that I have a concern that way also.
Yep.
That's what
Yep.
I'm saying.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I know my for-profit clothing recycling company bundles it, sends it down to like Brazil and those types of things out of the country. The book folks will take the books, resell what they can. Usually, they'll and then others, if they can't, they'll either donate, to libraries or hospitals and whatnot, or if they're in bad shape, they're destroyed. So it's a little bit of a mix. Most of them, I mean, even when you look at something like, the yellow one down there, without using the name, there's a lot of speculation out there in the industry. Is it really for profit or not?
That's
So
the one I've heard. Yeah.
yeah,
They're selling the
it's
stuff
a
in-
very, very, very nebulous area. I know, particularly in my centers here in New England, we have AFAB Recycling, which is doing their clothing and that type of thing, and they're clearly for profit. We know it, and they're paying as much as quote the nonprofit's going to pay for the space, to have, and the luxury to have it on site. So, there's something here, absolutely. Whatever the number is, I think, we can talk about that, but,
All right.
I'm seeing $100 to $500 a month out of these vendors.
So we want 600.
Yeah. So it's there. No, it's certainly there, and I would recommend just a flat monthly rent and keep it simple. Keeps everybody honest. For auditing purposes, trying to figure out, from the vendor, how much poundage did you get? How do you verify it? How do we verify it? It's a nightmare you don't want to get into. So
Okay.
yeah. But please revisit all those other vendors down there and let's have some discussions.
All right.
I think that's a way to go.
The other thing that I have to talk about is the Civil War Monument.
Yes.
The last time I was in, I talked to Dave, or talked to the whole board about, where was funding gonna come from?
Right.
And we've talked to the Historic Commission and talked to the Park and Rec, and they're both in agreement to do something out there. We may not be able to put the fence up, we don't have the money for the fence, but we do have money, and this has an outline of,
You were talking about the metal fence around it.
Yes.
You were originally planning,
Yes.
right? Okay.
yeah, we don't have the money for that, but we do have money available. It shows on the bottom available money. Through the Historic Commission, the Historic Commission, through a Civil War rehab, has $14,000 that we can use toward making that monument look a lot better than it does.
Okay.
The Highway Department has a tree account from the Planning Board from money that we received from the Georgetown Shopping Center about, they were supposed to put so many trees in and they couldn't fit them in, so the money was given to the Highway Department to use toward buying trees to put on town property.
Oh, okay.
So we would use some of that money also.
Okay.
But this is a a breakdown of how much it would cost to do what we'd like to do. What I would like to do is remove all the shrub material from the, that area, including the blue spruce. Come back in, regrade the area, so people that are at the podium could walk down to the monument on grass. It's not gonna be a brick walkway, but when you get to the monument, there would be a brick around the monument with new lighting. Currently, the lighting's been off, I would say, since March or early April. The electricity's been off, so the flagpole hasn't been lit and the monument hasn't been lit because there's some electrical issues that we would fix. Right now, if somebody did something, well, not right now because the electricity is off, but before, if somebody did something down there, touched a wire or put a shovel through a wire, they would get electrocuted and it wouldn't stop. You know, there's no GFI, there's no circuit breaker. We would install a circuit breaker. I'm meeting with the electrical inspector tomorrow and the new light superintendent tomorrow to talk about this area. The light department has materials that they can put toward this to make this a better place. What I want to do is, this is the perfect time to plant seed. I would like to go in, fill in those areas that we want to fill in, remove the shrubs that are around the monument, remove the blue spruce, plant the new Christmas tree type. And there was one talk about where are you going to put a new Christmas tree, and the place that I found was between Johnny's and Napa. There's an area that's owned by the town, and I've already talked to Napa that they're not don't have a problem with putting a Christmas tree there, and it's just an open space right now, so it'd be a perfect place for a Christmas tree.
Between Johnny's and Napa, like that little.
No, it's not little. It's big enough to put a Christmas tree. So.
Literally between the two.
Yes, you'll see a grass area.
Yeah.
That's there, and it's plenty big enough for a Christmas tree.
So out there, are there two trees? There's the big.
There's a
blue spruce, right,
and there's a crabapple. There's a ton of material that's near the monument itself. You can't even get close to the monument. You can't tell that there's lights lighting the monument.
Right.
So we would install new lights for the flagpole. There is water there. We wouldn't install a sprinkler system right now. I hate using town water to water lawns. You know, I would use a drought-resistant grass that we could use out there, like a fescue, that you wouldn't have to water as much. And, you know, when it turns yellow, it's gonna come back like all the other ones come back. So, you know, there may be a possibility that we could maybe put a well in there, or there's other avenues that we could think about water, but there would definitely be water there now to get the seed to grow. This is the best time to grow grass, and so when people came to Memorial Day next year, it would be a much better place. It would have a few granite posts on the corners. There would be a brick walk. You could go up and touch the monument. Right now, it just looks terrible.
So you're talking about brick directly around the whole monument?
Yes, so you can walk around it, look at it.
Paver stones or whatever it is?
Yes, brick pavers.
Okay. But the tree has to come down?
That was the talk from the VFW, the Park and Rec is in agreement, the Historic Commission's in agreement. A Civil War monument, if you look online at any Civil War monument, it's supposed to almost stand alone.
Yeah,
That is the
360.
focal point. And, you know, you can't tell there's a monument down there. You can't even see, you know, the town hall from the center of town from that blue spruce. So it's not like, I know we have to take it down, but I know we're gonna plant a new one. So, that we can maintain that. Right now, the light department takes them a day just to wire it for Christmas.
Yeah.
You know, this one here, we're gonna maintain to keep it at 20-25 feet. So it's, you know, easy to put the wires on. And this will look much better than what it looks like now. And then we can go back and talk about the fence. If we wanna talk about Civil War cannons, that's a possibility too. So. But, you know, right now, it is just an eyesore.
No, I still call it.
What do you need from us tonight?
I just wanna go ahead and get going on this. This is, you know, my guys, there'll be a little bit of work on town time, but most of it will be overtime. You know, what I'm talking about there is the light department will come in to help us remove the tree. So we don't have to hire an outside vendor to cut down the tree. We just need somebody to top it, we can take care of the rest.
Can I get some of the wood for my
You can have all
fire
the
pit?
wood. You can have all the wood.
Drop it all.
You can't have.
No, I know. I'm just laughing. No, I was just talking to my neighbor. I'm like, I need some more wood for my fire pit. You know?
You basically needed to go ahead from us for the tree removal, I think was the hang up also.
Well,
That
I
was
know
our
that
big hang up
We
last
wanted to
time.
make sure you had, there was another plan that everybody
Yes.
agreed to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there, so was there
And,
anything?
and Dave wanted to have numbers about where we're gonna get the money
Okay.
and,
Yeah.
you know, to make this happen. And then, you know, we can go through CPC funds to get the fence that, you know,
Mhm.
we've talked about, which is expensive, so.
Yeah, was it an iron fence or something, right?
Wrought iron,
Wrought iron, yeah.
that used to be there, but I think they
All right.
made bullets out of it.
Well, gentlemen, do you have any questions? Mike, any input, any thoughts?
They're done. No, I agree with Peter.
You agree? Historical? You guys agree?
The whole thing about the tree was driven by the Department of Interior. They told us we were dishonoring the people who put up the monument originally
Yeah.
by blocking it, and it's generally frowned upon to put shrubbery around something that you could just go up and be able to read.
Yeah.
So we initiated this a long time ago,
Okay.
but, and then got a grant with Peter's help to figure out what we could do, and we needed more to get the iron fence, but,
I know, I just love the tree, so.
yeah, well,
Personally, I'm stuck on the tree for some
We
reason.
can bring it down and put it in your front lawn,
okay, right.
and you can decorate it.
I can decorate it any way I want.
You know what you're getting from me? You got a blue spruce seedling for Christmas.
All right. How about you, Carrie? Any thoughts?
Just, we call it a town tree.
No, I still like Christmas tree. Thank you very much.
Well, so do
Well, the
I.
blue spruce really.
I'm not
is-
shy
I
about
don't
that
want
in any
any,
stretch. Trust me. So I entertain a motion to approve this Civil War monument effort and estimate as presented. If anybody would like to make a motion,
So
or
move, that's fine.
I'll second that.
all right. Any further discussion?
Fantastic.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Go at it.
Oh, here
Break
this-
out the chainsaw. Just you're gonna take the phone calls when everyone says, "What happened? What do you mean they're cutting down the tree?"
But we'll. put
You're
a new
taking the
tree.
phone calls, all
We'll
right?
put a new tree, yeah.
That's right.
Bruce, make a good note of that,
Yeah, I
right?
am.
He's taking the phone calls.
And it's.
That would be Durkee.
The number's
352-5701.
352-5701.
That would be Peter Trapani.
What's your plate number on your car? What's your car?
Yeah, exactly.
Blue plates, thank you.
Thank you, Peter.
Thanks, Peter.
Thank you, Peter.
Have a good night.
See you later. Thanks for everything.
Ain't no light highways.
Oh, one more thing. And this is
Okay,
very short.
Columbo.
This is just
It's
a
the
quick
Columbo
update
close
on
coming
the
in.
West Street culvert.
I'm sorry, what?
A quick update on the West Street culvert.
Oh.
They started work a week ago today. They're gonna be installing the culvert tomorrow. So
Oh.
the foundation's in and they're gonna be installing that. So by the end of the month, that road will be all back open and it'll be, and one thing that I will say about the culvert is usually when you take a culvert apart that was there's some type of area where water runs through.
Yeah.
There was no area where water runs through.
Good. So you didn't have any
this-
erosion or any issues?
No. Meaning that the culvert that was existing had no place for water to go through. It was going through very slowly.
Oh, okay.
So usually there's an opening for, a channel for the water to go through. There was no channel.
Oh.
We popped the top rocks off, there was no channel.
Oh, okay.
So we have a temporary pipe in there now diverting the water as we're working in the area.
Gotcha.
And I think that's got more water flowing through it than the old culvert did.
Okay.
So this will be huge. So I think you may be able to raise the taxes on the Linares, so they're gonna have more land now instead of water.
Could we perhaps in the future think about a covered bridge there, and that would give,
That could be another culvert that I don't think
Yeah.
FEMA will pay for. So, and this is a grant from.
I know. Thanks for getting the money, though, Pete.
Alrighty, thank you.
Thanks.
we need
Well done.
something as a destination.
All right, let's go. We're getting late.
I know, moving along. There was a letter from our fire chief to Erie 4 members, thanking them for basically lending engine 4. Good night, Bruce. Engine 4 while engine 5 is out of service. So thank you, Erie, for playing nice in town, and much appreciate that. Georgetown Days schedule. We have Georgetown Days September 23rd through 29th. It's the 175th year celebration. So that is going on. I think they're planning on maybe doing the salsa and the chili contest again.
You win?
I won the first year that we did it, and I came in second the second year, and then we didn't do it again. So,
What you get for not winning?
well, you know. But unfortunately, I'm supposed to be out of town that weekend, but I'm trying to shuffle my schedule around.
Just
So.
give it to me, I'll say I made it.
All right. Maybe you can represent for me.
Perfect.
You want to represent for Eggy Salsa there, Gary? No? All right. Might have to send the wife down and without me, but we'll see. Moving along, appointments and approvals, disclosure of appearance of conflict, ZBA, Sharon Freeman. Mike, you want to give us a quick?
We're
On this one?
withdrawing that request
Okay.
for Sharon. She's not gonna be able to attend the meetings,
Okay.
period.
All right.
But-
Next one.
Yeah, the Board of Health had to hire somebody this summer to mow the landfill, the capped landfill. We're required to mow twice a year by the closure regulations. Someone was mowing it for free the last 2 years, I believe. They're no longer able to do it.
Okay.
So Board of Health reached out and Bob Morehouse has said he would do it for a rate of $65 an hour. It's about 8 hours work. He said, I think the way Debbie Rogers explained it, we were spending $1,500 a mow when we were paying for it.
So this is like $500 or so?
Yeah, so this is
Yep.
quite a bargain for the town.
All right.
However, because Bob is a
Camp Dennison.
Camp Dennison
Chairman.
chairman, he's considered a town employee.
Right.
And it could be construed as a conflict of interest. And in order for him to be exempt, he would need to be named a special municipal employee.
Right.
And that would give him the exemption he needs to do the work.
So we need to name him that tonight? That's our
Yes,
plan?
that's what the paperwork is in front of you. And just as an aside, when I talked to the lawyer at the State Ethics Commission, and I think you were given a copy of an email at your place. It wasn't in the packet because it just happened today.
think it was on the
She
back.
recommends that all unelected municipal volunteers be named, be designated special municipal employees, because she has found it helps people who might want to volunteer, but
Are involved in.
If you feel that they may be
Yep.
a client.
Yeah.
Conflict, right.
All right. Well, that's not pretty. That's a good
so,
point.
but I'm not asking that today. I'm
Okay.
just asking that.
Can we
Robert-
take that up on the future?
Yes,
Okay.
definitely will.
Let's move that one along quickly.
Mr. Chair, I move that we name Robert Morehouse as a special municipal employee for the town of Georgetown.
Second.
All right. So move. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great.
Just
That
the
passes.
Chairman's signature,
You mean the acting chairman?
acting chairman.
On behalf of board right here. Okay. What's today? 9/9. All right. You are, sir. I just want to back up one. We did not officially open the special town meeting, so I would make a motion to open the special town meeting warrant for October 28th, 2013.
So moved.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 3, fabulous, that one is done, thank you, gentlemen. On appointments and approvals, Community Preservation Committee Selectmen appointment term to expire June 30th, 2015. So we have an appointment that we need to make to the CPC because at town meeting, was it the spring town meeting?
Yes.
We
Yes.
evolved that into, from one of the warrant articles, from 7 members to 9. Is that correct? So we have an appointment, and who was the other party?
FinCom.
FinCom has.
They've-
And have they made
They
it?
have made their
Okay.
appointment.
So the question is, does the board, is there anybody that you know of that's come forward that would like to serve on CPC? Anybody, any names that you guys know of? And 2, if not, are there any board members that are interested in serving?
The first question is no, I don't have any candidates for it, and the second question is no as well. And the reason I say no as a potential appointment for the CPC is because I'm on the Historic Commission. A lot of our funding comes from the CPC, so I just think it would be, and we already actually have a Historical Commission member who is
Right.
a CPC member.
Yep.
I just think
Yep, no problem.
I'd like to provide the opportunity for someone else to do it because it's
Any
just-
interest
Do
in
we
serving?
know how, I would, I mean, be interested, but I'd like to know what it entails. How many, I think they meet on Thursdays.
Every other
Typically.
Thursday, is that right? Twice a
I know they're
month?
an active board.
I don't know if they meet twice or once a month. I think it may
I
be
think it's just once.
Is
a
it
month.
once?
Once a month, and then they probably do have a busy time, I imagine also when the people are presenting to them and that.
Yes.
Just as a comment, I mean, we have I kinda wondered, you know, when we did this, the selectmen have an appointment, but if we don't really have anything that we all know, anyone we all know closely and is coming back to us, I guess what's the sense of us having an appointment unless it's one of us, so
One
that
of
we
us.
can report back as to
Yeah.
what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm willing to serve. If you're, are you willing to serve? I mean, either
I am,
one,
so
you know.
maybe you wanna wait till the next.
Are we under
meeting,
any-
Well, I don't know when their next meeting is, but the change in the bylaw did increase their quorum count.
Right.
And without the appointments, they weren't able to meet their August quorum count.
Okay. So
So I think it needs to be
we
done.
need to move forward tonight if possible. Would you be interested in
I
serving?
can-
I would do it if
I
you're not,
would,
but
and I mean,
you're more
if it
interested,
didn't
then
work
go.
out, I suppose that maybe I could.
You transfer it
resign
over.
and- So I guess.
I move that we appoint
Gary Fowler.
Gary Fowler to the Community Preservation Commission as the selectman appointment for a term to expire June 30th, 2015.
Second.
Two-year term, huh?
It's a 3-year term.
What's really,
yes.
yeah, it's a
Oh,
3, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So, I second that. So moved, I'm sorry, we need a second, right? Can you second that, or can you you can second that?
You
can-
can
you
second,
can
you just
second
did,
it.
I think.
There we go.
Jeez, dear God.
I know. It's getting late.
All right, so we get a second. Anyone have any discussion?
Any discussion, further discussion on that? Negative?
Just
Oh.
I hope.
Thank you, Gary.
All in
I am good
favor?
at getting the meetings, so.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, I'll
Alright.
abstain.
And Gary will abstain, so.
Thanks, Gary.
Welcome to the party, Gary.
Yeah.
All right, do good work there, will you? And if I'm not mistaken, I think that's everything on our agenda.
Motion to adjourn.
Yes, I would hear a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second. Oh, before we do that, hold on, sorry, I do have one more piece of business here. I wanted to recognize a long service member to the town to this town was Ronald Marshall. Passed, and he was born in 1930 and passed just recently. He served on the town, with the town in many municipal capacities, as they say here. He served as a water superintendent, following his father's work as a superintendent as well. They have, so we want to say condolences to the Marshall family, and they have a private graveside memorial that will be held for family and close friends on Saturday, September 14th at 11 o'clock at Harmony. cemetery here in town. And the family asked that those who wish to remember Mr. Ron Marshall, that you take a moment to walk in the woods and enjoy the peace and quiet and count your blessings. So condolences to the family and thank you for his service to the town. He will be missed, and with that, I'll take, did we get a second? Aye,
If
aye,
I could just
and aye.
add one thing, no.
Yes, sir.
Yes, no. Someone approached me about the building and the AC on and that, so Mike, perhaps at one of our next meetings, it would be interesting to know how we're doing so far. Are we saving money and that with all of the work that we've done? And
Well, it's funny you should mention that, Gary, because Dave Schofield was in the office today just for stopping by, and he said he personally noticed a pretty noticeable drop in the load of municipal bills.
Really?
Okay,
Good.
okay, good, yeah. 'Cause there was concern that they went by and the big air conditioning unit was running, but I said, when you've got a big building and you're cooling it, it needs to run just like heating in the winter. But I was, hopefully the thermostats go up when there was no one here and.
Oh,
so-
yeah.
so-
And sometimes it's just blowing air,
and so-
right?
and
It's
Unless
low.
they can't go
We are-
down below 72.
Mhm. Yeah.
There's no 60-degree offices anymore. And we replaced a dozen or, 10 or so
Right, yeah.
window shakers,
Yeah.
so.
Mm.
And they were all old and inefficient, and we will get an annual accounting that's part of the ESCO.
But do we get anything quarterly or anything like that?
No, it's an
Okay.
annual
Okay.
savings.
But we are seeing a savings as you stated.
Well,
so-
that was,
Guaranteed.
the first I've had any document, it was not, documentation, but
Excuse me.
Dave did say the loads are down.
Okay,
Good, that's great news.
thank you.
All right, with that, I need a yes from you, and then we're out
Yes.
here. All right, good night, everybody, thank you. And don't forget.